Okay, I'm so excited. I'm sharing the things that shifted almost everything in my motherhood so many years ago. And I am guessing there's at least one idea I'm sharing today that can be so helpful for you on your motherhood journey. Just, these little pivots in the way we think and the things that we do that seem to make such a big difference. So I'm so excited for how things can shift for you today. So hey, my name is Lana. I'm a mom of 6. This is Girl Teach Me. This whole channel was created to help be a guide to you on your journey of motherhood. I definitely don't have it all figured out, sharing the highs and the lows. So if that resonates with you, I hope you'll just stay and hit subscribe. So I want to tell you exciting news. I have a new website, girlteachme.com. There are so many resources for you over there, recipes, free guides, different things that can just really tangibly be a help to you. So make sure you check it out after this video. So I'm going to start off by sharing the idea that really just seemed to flip motherhood on its head for me, but I want to finish up the video by sharing the thing that I think matters the most. The thing that seemed to flip motherhood on its head for me was that I really had the power to choose what kind of mother I was going to be. I had the power to choose what my experience in motherhood was going to be like. There are a million things that I cannot control, but I did realize just somewhere along maybe the 6-year mark or so of motherhood, like, hey, if motherhood's going to be great, I'm going to have to choose to make it so. That I can't wait for somebody to come in and make motherhood better for me. I can't choose for somebody to come in and really change me. Like, me changing my spouse or me changing my kids or me changing all these other things. Like, I can't do that. I have to start with myself. So that's what I would say was the biggest shift for me, was this idea that yes, like as a Christian, God is in control, and yet he has given me free will, and he wants me to flex that free will for his glory and my good and the good of my family. And so I would just say, I didn't realize how much I was waiting on other people to come save me in my finances, in just the systems of the home, in the way I was taking care of my body. It was like, well, when I get some help from somebody, when somebody can come watch the kids, when my husband can watch the kids, when we make this amount of money, XYZ. It was like I was always waiting until. And when I realized that until is now, it's today. I need to live in a day-tight compartment. Today is the only thing that's real. Yesterday is dead and gone, and tomorrow is yet unborn. That the choices I make today are what matters and what move the needle forward. I think it's so easy to make goals out in the future and say, I'll start tomorrow. But just realizing that even if it's 8 p.m., I can start today, that I can move the needle forward today. And by starting small, it creates an immense amount of momentum in my life. That's when everything started to shift. I'd say the second thing that helped me so very much was I read a book called Hero on a Mission. And while I can't speak for everything in that book, because I definitely don't agree with all the theology that the author has, this idea that there are 4 characters in every story and that we shift between these different characters with the way we live our lives really opened my eyes up to like, what kind of character do I want to be? And the 4 characters he shares are the victim, the villain, the hero, and the guide. And I've talked a lot about this on this channel, but even if you've heard me say this before, I feel like it's always such a good reminder that we get to choose what kind of character we want to be. And so the author makes the argument that when you look at these 4 characters, the victim, the villain, the hero, and the guide, you will almost always see them in every single story, every single movie. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Helped me understand, okay, today I'm playing the victim. Okay, today I'm being an angry mom. I'm playing the villain. And so the idea is that we all have pain in our life. Like, we live in a fallen world, and what we do with that pain is probably the most significant determiner of whether our life goes well or not. And so he would say the victim wallows in the pain. They need to be saved from the pain. And he makes the case that there are real victims in the world that legitimately need to be saved and helped. But most of the time we are acting like a victim when we're not taking ownership of the free will. We're not using the power to choose correctly. We're wallowing in the pain. Then he would say the villain is a person who is, they've been hurt, they have pain in their lives, and then they're rising up and they're hurting people with that pain, or they're getting back, they're getting revenge. And they're like, because I feel this way, I never want anybody else to feel this way. And so I'm going to justify my bad behavior because of the pain I have in my life. And then he said there's the hero. The hero is taking the pain and they're saying, I have felt this pain and I want nobody else to feel this kind of pain, or at least I don't want them to be alone in this pain, and I'm going to help people. And so I think about my friend who's lost a child, and with her pain, she is now helping other moms who have child loss. And so that's just a hard example, but a really good example of she's trying to do something to help others with her pain. And that's the thing with a hero, is they're always on a grand mission for the sake of others. But now as a Christian, I see that God is inviting Christians in on this big heroic journey of helping more people know him. And, yes, we have pain in our lives. That's like our testimony, but Jesus has saved us from a lot of the pain we've caused ourselves in our sin and our brokenness and all those things. And then the fourth role is the guide. And he makes the case that the guide is actually the most rewarding role we can possibly play. The guide first has to take the hero's journey, but now helps the hero accomplish his mission. And so if you watch any movie, you will now see a victim who needs to be saved, a villain who will always get eliminated, a hero who doesn't feel like a hero. Most of the time they're hanging off the side of a building. They're very uncomfortable. They do not feel like a hero. It's only at the very end of the story that we see them really step into that hero role and embrace the idea that they are the hero. And then we have the guide. And then the guide would be like, I think Mr. Miyagi in The Karate Kid. It would be like Mary Poppins. It would be Dumbledore and Harry Potter. Like if you think about all these great stories, they almost always have a guide. And that's a really important thing I learned in motherhood, is that motherhood is not easy. And in fact, I'm on my own hero's journey in motherhood. I have my own unique pain and my own struggles and all the things. I know I don't want to be a victim mom. I know I don't want to be a villain mom. I want to be a mom on a hero's journey for the sake of my family, for my husband, for my kids, and for, all of those that my motherhood touches. But I'm going to need a guide. Ultimately, Jesus is our guide, right? But then also he provides other guides. Titus 2 tells the older women to instruct the younger women to love their husband and to love their families and take care of their homes and things like that. And so we get to be the guide for other younger women, but also we need a guide. And so for me, that's looked like, when I had 4 children, I found a woman at church who had 9 children. I'm like, tell me everything. Tell me your ways. Tell me your highs. Tell me your lows. Tell me your regrets, your wins. Tell me, I found an older mom who had homeschooled. What did you do right? What did you do wrong? I found a mom who has a fabulous marriage. Like when her and her husband talk to each other, they are so loving and so kind. And she never, ever badmouths her husband. No, she doesn't act like he's perfect, but they have a really sweet marriage. And she has a great relationship with her kids, who are her adult kids. And so just being around these women, watching how they talk about their husband, watching their interactions with their kids, watching discipline moments, talking with my friend who has adult children, and, what is that like? I'm just constantly trying to learn and have a guide for the road ahead. But I can say that playing the guide for others is the most rewarding journey I've had as well, being the guide for my kids, being the guide for younger moms, and being the guide for even like little softball players, because I used to play softball and coaching. Like these are some of the most rewarding roles we have to play, is when we give back to others. But I think what I realized was, until I take the hero's journey for whatever, hard paths I'm on, I can't be the guide. And so that's helped me see pain and struggle in a completely different way. Now they say your test is often your testimony, or your pain is often your ministry. And so just realizing that God is allowing certain things to happen in my life, not because he hates me, but because he loves me and he wants to love other people through my pain and my struggle. It's really transformed so much in motherhood for me. I think to piggyback on some of that, the personal responsibility piece has been very liberating for me. I mean, one thing that they talk about is a locus of control. Like, do you feel like you have an internal locus of control? Like you feel like you can change things? Or external locus of control is you feel like life is happening to you. And those are some of my most depressing points in motherhood, is when I felt like I was being drugged behind a bus and I had no say on where the bus was going. Well, I had a say on a lot of things, but that's the thing, is I was resigning my say by being passive, because I didn't want to deal with the consequences of a decision. I would just pass the whole decision to my husband, but then I wanted to criticize him when things weren't going well. And that's just a passive aggressive way of living. And I think that's where passive aggressiveness comes from. It's like you don't have the courage to make the decision. You don't have the courage to be in the arena, and yet you want to criticize those who are in the arena making the decisions. And so once I got in the game and I realized that the best way I could be a helper for my husband is to be active, to be an active helper, to make decisions, to have an opinion, and, to take ownership when that decision falls apart. It's not there's nobody to blame but myself, And so that's actually a way more freeing way to live. And they've shown with a lot of research, even back in like World War II times, that those who have a more internal locus of control actually have far less suicidal thoughts and depression, because they realize that there are things in their life they can change. They can have hope that things are going to get better because they're going to make progress on something. And I think that's part of perhaps why God gives us that free will, right? It's not love if we have to love him. It's love because we choose to love him. We're using that free will to choose him. Even though he's already pursuing us and chosen us and wants us to come to him, and he's given us every opportunity to come to him, at the end of the day, I still have to choose him and use that free will to love him. And I know that's also the Holy Spirit inside of me and helping me do that and all the things. And I can't take any credit for that. It's kind of like this odd idea in theology, the study of God, where it just seems like there's two things that can't exist at the same time, and yet we can't wrap our brains around it. But just because I can't wrap my brain around it doesn't mean it's not true. It's like he can be totally in control and yet give me free will. And that was just something I kind of had to come to terms with, was I'm not going to fully understand this. I think for so many years I was living in a space where I'm like, well, God's in complete control, so I'm just going to trust him and it's all going to work out. But I was resigning the fact that he gives me free will. And it's like, well, I can trust the Lord that can get in shape if I run, but at this end of the day, I still have to put my running shoes on and go for that run, if that makes sense. And I just wasn't in the game, and I was getting drugged behind the bus of life, and I didn't like where it was going, and I was depressed and I was down. And then I realized, okay, I can change my life. It's going to have to be little by little, like James Clear said. It may not happen as fast as I'd like it to. Really, I have been at Girl Teach Me for 8 years now, and I look at a lot of other people's channels and a lot of people's businesses, and they've grown so much faster than mine, and that's okay. That's okay. I mean, my goal isn't to be the most well-known or to have the most money or all the things. I think it's just this idea that if I just keep showing up, I'm going to be able to help somebody. I mean, that's what keeps me going. But it's been slow. It's been steady. And also it's been something that's really helped me in life, because I've seen, okay, I can slowly, little by little, put out these videos. It may not be a ton of videos. They may not be the best quality videos, but I can try to help a mom at home some way, somehow. So I don't know what that looks like for you and what the Lord is kind of prompting your heart to do for your family, for your home, for even your well-being, your marriage. But just this idea with this internal locus of control, that there are things that I can change. I think that a lot of us, and I can't speak for you, but for me, I get so much motivation, so much energy from the idea that I'm making progress. Like, I'm okay if a project feels a little chaotic, like if I'm painting a house, because I know that once I finish painting and I put that room together, it's going to be such a rewarding feeling. But just that middle stage where the house is a wreck and you're halfway done with painting and you have paint all over your hands and all over your clothes, and you ran out of paint and you got to go get more paint. Just that middle ground is so messy. But I think a lot of us are craving progress, but we just have to be willing to get in that messy middle ground of life where we're making progress, we're not quite there yet, and yet we're painting those walls of life, and yet we're making progress, and yet we're on that health journey that never ends, but we can see progress. Or we're pouring into our children. That's not a job that is ever finished, and yet we all want to feel progress, that we're making a difference in our kids' lives. We can see them learning and growing and hopefully loving the Lord more, and our relationship with them is growing. And really, I think all of us want to see our kids reach their fullest potential, and yet that job is never done. So I think for me, just understanding I do have a locus of control. I have to take full responsibility for the decisions I make, not pass the blame off to anybody else, because when I pass the blame off, well, then I'm the victim or the villain. These ideas have shifted so much for me as a Christian in motherhood, that the changes are not going to come from manifesting, and the changes aren't going to come from when somebody comes and saves me from all the hardship, but understanding that Jesus said, in this world we will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. This is the thing I want to leave with you that has transformed the most, is that at the end of the day, God loves us. He's for us. And slowly, little by little, He is fitting us for heaven. And that kind of, it's called sanctification. It's a slow, part of it is a slow process, and that the pain isn't there to hurt me. It's a working pain, not a hurting pain. It's a productive pain. And much like I think about with labor, like I have a little birth course, and that's something I say is that labor pains are, for the most part, working pains. They're working baby down and out. But really, that's such an analogy for life. You know, these hard moments in life, they can feel like these overwhelming contractions, but they don't last forever. And at the end of the day, you know, hopefully you get this sweet baby in your arms and it's all worth it. And I feel like that's what it's going to be like to see Jesus face to face. Is it's going to all be worth it. All the hardship we go through in life, it'll be worth it to be with Him forever. So I'm going to leave a video that you can click on at the very end that I think would be a really great next video if you have some more time to watch a video. But if not, you know, leave me your comments down below. What are your thoughts? What's changed so much for you in motherhood? Did I share something that really resonated with you? Drop your wisdom down below for other moms who stop by. I know they would love to hear from you, and I'll see you again in the next video.
Just like iron sharpens iron, making me stronger, calling me higher. When